to pray. There's no angels where I go, only pieces that are broken, scattered dreams across the floor. I'm home.
Alrighty, hello everybody, this is Kirusho here. Now, whenever we last left off, there had been a bit of an incident at Island. Deku, he's still stuck in this molten state. In fact, his allies have gotten him to the island, and have been talking with David Shields. So let us pick up roughly about 2 days later, after the events of last time. Everyone has been staying on the island and actually doing as David's asked, not getting into trouble and staying away from certain areas. Sayako is actually helping him do this too. She does want to at least keep an eye on David and make sure Midoriya is okay, along with the fact that he is still trying to figure this out. He's never really seen a Quark do this before. And then again, from what he can tell, this used to be the Quark of a villain that was famous for break-ins and actually robbing different places. So, clearly, it is going to be a useful Quark to someone. Now, he is still surprised by the strength of it too, along with the amount of Quarks this boy has after learning about them. This is quite a big number. Along with that, you do have a problem. David, after talking with this doctor that works with All for One, has at least found something, thinking that it to be a bit odd. He found that apparently Midoriya is trapped with heat, or has heat trapped inside of his body. And him and Melissa have been talking, working on making a machine. Well, you also do have Sayako, trying to help make these contraptions, and actually doing the heavy lifting when it requires her to, using telepathy to move the parts around. Now, with that, everyone else has somewhat been enjoying the park, although they do make sure to stay out of the public's view. Basically, anytime the park shuts down for the night, they would be allowed to go outside, one of the different areas, and see what's going on. Along with that, David is still trying to figure out a good way to keep them away from the Quark technology, at least until the heroes get here. Sir Night-Eye is supposed to be here soon, so he wants to slow down. If he does, he might get killed. Then again, he also just has to make sure to keep Melissa safe. He's already lost some family, he can't lose the rest of it. Now, this is where Deku, he is still, freaking out. He is at least put into a different test, with different forms of machinery. Whenever they go to at least solidize him or make a mold, this would have been a very bad one. They thought that they could solidize him using a form of powder, the same way they tried to at least stop titanium fires. Usually they would burn out in seconds, but Deku has been stuck like this. They thought that he should be able to reform that way, although it was taking quite a bit of time. Now, along with that, it has also been more tricky, since Melissa, she's learning more and more about her dad's secret projects. Along with the fact that this project right now, apparently it may be a bigger form of the Quark Enhancer, along with the fact that it's also somewhat might help transmute Deku. What I mean by transmute is it would basically grab on to different forms of Deku's biology and mutate them, in an attempt to cure him, which is possibly highly illegal. Melissa is at least concerned though, and she's gonna try and find a way to talk to her father about this afterwards. Since Uncle All Might's dead and, well, Mirio isn't here yet, then that means that this is going to get more challenging. Eventually, they would have gotten the first test run of the new machine. Whenever they do test it, Deku, he would have been somewhat anti-magnetized, basically being pulled upwards and down at the same time, grabbing onto certain molecules in the metals. Deku at least being able to stand up and try and move around, although he's able to stay solid for a couple seconds, but his body does still look slimy and metallic, and he is trying to get this to go back to normal. He would barely be able to hold his form until the machine does shut down, nearly causing a power outage throughout the entire park. Now, the reason why the machine shut down is because it said that it was overloaded with, well, raw power. So, clearly, this boy is stuck with something. David would begin to look through Deku's biology, and at least a sample of the metal he can get under a microscope, along with what he believes was Deku's normal blood. Now, the reason why he got the normal blood was because he got it from the doctor. His blood contains the same or similar things about this quirk. And well, he can spot at least micro shards of metal roaming around through Deku's system, meaning that anytime he does use this quirk, it stays there. And he does need to be careful with it. But even then, whenever he does analyze the metal, he does notice that sometimes if you apply the right tool to it, it will glow. Now, Sayako has been awake for a lot longer than she should have been, and she's actually thinking about this more. She is at a table full of David's equipments, and she's actually analyzing another piece of the metal, at least trying to think about it, before getting annoyed. She's trying to think of more and more solutions. The prototypes they have her move around, and the other things aren't working. So clearly, he's either lying to me, or he's trying to distract me. Then again, he also might not know. Sayaka doing one thing, turning and looking straight at David, looking into his head, finding the answer for herself. He is genuinely curious as to what is happening, thinking that there's an electro field around, well, Midoriya's body. So exactly what is wrong with it? Now, Sayaka would have heard that phrase, electromagnetic fields. Deku took an electricity quirk not too long ago. Is that somehow related to this? Her getting annoyed, and smashing her hands on the table, she would throw everything to the side. David and Melissa watching her do this, as she would basically just sit down and not cry, but at least just stay there, trying to figure things out in her head, drinking more and more tea. Clearly, she has an invested interest in this, as Melissa would have walked over, asking if this guy is really that important to her. Sayako's saying yes. He's actually her childhood friend. And, oddly enough, he's saved my life a lot of times. His dad also helped me too. If it wasn't for him, I'd probably be dead. Again. Again? What do you mean by that? You're villains, aren't you always in danger? Sayako looking up to her, saying they're not villains. Originally. In fact, she joined Midoriya because, well, he was always someone to strive to be like. Growing up, he was always fancy, or at least showed some genuine interest in other people, other than their quirks. Then, well, one day he disappeared. Came back differently. Her a bit confused. Before saying that whenever she went on a date with him, Melissa's somewhat taking a step back, thinking for a second. Wait, this is your boyfriend? Well, not just mine. Melissa's still a bit odd about that. Sayako explaining exactly what is going on, and being a bit surprised by it. Okay, this guy's going places. Now, she's not too sure about what to do next, as she would at least just stand up and calm down, saying that things are going to be a bit harder, but I'll handle this, okay? Sayako just walking over and beginning to pick up some of these projects. Whenever she does pick up one of these things, though, she does notice that it's actually on and working. Kind of confused for a second, asking David if these things are supposed to have power. Him looking and saying none of them are. In fact, they have no power source. Exactly why? Now, this is when Sayako would have said that this thing has power. Looking around and seeing that the goo is, well, on the machine, powering it. This actually catching her attention. Of course, Deku's other side of that quirk. What was it again? Her running over to a board and beginning to write things down. And beginning to actually look online about the live television incidents. Finding an old video clip. Whenever she does see it, she watches as Deku brings his hands up and directly grabs the thing, not being affected by the shock. He has no rubber quirk or anything like that. Even then, body augmentation makes his body still flesh. So, as she would begin, looking around the room, getting some copper wire and a light bulb. David, confused as she would run back over to the microscope, and begin to wrap the copper around the light bulb. Then pressing down with the little pieces onto the metal, as it would turn on. David confused for a second before thinking about that. Apparently, he hasn't thought about this, or seen the other side. Everyone beginning to talk and actually get more and more invested in this. David realizing that this quirk has been edited with another one. Now, this is whenever they would begin to create another machine. But while that's happening, Melissa would be taken away. Or, well, at least leave. She needs to go talk to the guest. Because today they are holding that banquet. In fact, it's going to be very, very nice. And nothing can ruin this perfect occasion. Sarcasm at its best. Or just ominous foreshadowing. Anyways. Now, I don't remember what... Oh, Wolfram. Anyways. I was gonna say I don't remember the guy's name, but... Wolfram, he is still pissed off. Thinking. He got screwed out of a paycheck. All because All for One said that he's sending someone else. So, why not just take that tech for yourself and go get another buyer? Someone who's going to be willing to buy Quark tech this big. Besides, especially the way All for One described it, no drawbacks to your Quark. That means pure power. Unrestrained. Perfect. Wolfram's task force coming in. And actually interrupting the ball and the gala. A lot of the guys, they were at least talking to some of the native girls, and they were at least able to go. And whenever they do arrive, people would have been a bit surprised, as this is whenever they would be interrupted. A lot of guys actually having to turn and blast their way at the villains. Wolfram being a bit surprised, as these kids have some pretty powerful quirks. Using his metal manipulation, his original quirk, to fight with them. Manipulating things around the room and actually being able to fight with them. Trying to impale or at least kill them. Kirishima coming in. As soon as Wolfram does see him, he begins to blast at him with a firearm. Kirishima taking the bullets and absorbing the shock. As he runs in with his hands, hardening them and actually going to stab into him. Wolfram blasting up a piece of metal, and it hitting Kirishima's unbreakable skin, sending him flying upwards into the wall. As he would begin more and more. Toru, she is using Beshina's quirk. Momo, she is doing what she can to help Toru, since if she uses Beshina's quirk too much, yeah, she might as well be in her old hero costume. Anyways, now, with that being said, they would continue. Everyone actually fighting, and them holding off the forces, until they would have been shot at by these guns. It wrapping around one person, Asui. Her trying to get back up. And, well, this thing is canceling her quirk. She can't use the ball manipulation, as someone began to fire more of these. Toru actually getting hit and slammed into a wall. Her quirk is deactivated, as Reiko is blasting fire, along with Todoroki. The guy running upstairs and going to haul ass. He needs to get this device before they do. That otherwise, well, yeah. He's gonna at least prove that he can do a better job than some stupid stealth mission. Besides, what's so special about these other people that I don't know about? Now, he would have been hauling ass up the stairs. The robots, he just manipulates the metal, and actually pulls it along with him. This is the most metal he's seen in quite the building. The entire building is, well, structured with metal, but still. He's going to need this. If he gets in a fight with them, then they are clearly going to win. Since All For One was very confident. Now, whenever this does happen, this is whenever Intelli would have been surprised. Along with David, finding that the alarm has been tripped. And, well, they do need to keep working. The device is almost ready. It will at least try and balance Deku out. And if it works, then it wouldn't take too much time for him to turn back to normal. Along with that, Deku. Now, Deku is at least trying to stand up. He's able to at least get some footing and stay out of stand in the container. But he would be basically piling over himself. It basically looking like I believe it's called like a stalactite. It's like the points in the cave that hang upwards or you can walk past them on the ground. I may be wrong. That might be stalactite or stalagmite. Hang on. Yeah, it was stalagmite. Anyways. Now, with that being said, they are at least seeing that Deku is making more and more progress. And David is trying to build this machine. It's supposed to help exert power. And from what he's heard, the boy's fight with Endeavor, he may have contained too much. So he's at least trying to reinforce it and do this more. Sayako moving the heavy metal, while Melissa is trying to attend to these problems. David is at least thinking, though. If he goes out there, then, well, it's going to be bad. If Melissa goes out there, she needs to be more careful, and to stay with this man's friends. He will try and take care of this. Just make sure to stay safe. Now, Deku, he would have done something, trying to at least move around, and actually fall out of the container, trying to move around and get his own footing, or control. Deku running over, and basically looking down into the goo, getting on her knees and saying that he needs to make sure to stay inside. Otherwise, this is not going to work. If you listen to me, then wait, can you even hear me? We're actually thinking more about this. Deku hasn't said a word other than fix me. So, is he gonna be okay? He has to be. Don't worry about that. Her basically using telekinesis to lift him up into the air and put him back. As over with everyone else. The guy is already at the wall of the. He's already at the Quark Enhanced technology. And he's basically ripping this place apart, trying to find it. Before getting the case open and actually grabbing it. And he's just thinking. He's got to find someplace up high. Get away from them and he can get away. Running up the staircase more. A lot of people behind him. Ayama is actually blasting lasers directly at him. The guy is using the metal to block these and at least stay away. Monoma, he's actually doing something quite similar. He's copied Ayama's quirk, along with Todoroki's. So, this will be a bit interesting. Let's see if I can try this. Monoma blasting out a red laser. That whenever it does stop, you can at least see a trail of heat and feel the intensity. He's actually been able to get that down. So, I can mix quirks too. Perfect. Now, with that being said, he's just thinking, if he can start mixing quirks, could he copy, well, Deku's? That would be a bit interesting, though. I don't think it would work. He needs to think other things right now. Kendo is running past him, grabbing him and actually telling him to let's go. As whenever they do get closer to the man, he would have been cornered on top of the roof and told to give up. Him basically saying that he's not going to. In fact, most of his guys will be here now. As one of them would have walked out from behind the group of people, throwing his hands outwards and trying to take down the class students. As Todoroki would have thrown up his hand and let out a large blast of ice, Mina going to throw acid, along with Momo creating frag grenades and actual firearms. Kendo letting out a loud punch as he would have smashed his person upwards in the face, and be a bit surprised whenever they get waxy and a bit gooey. Their body basically going away, and Toga being sent flying into the ground, trying to say that she was going to distract him. Apparently, she was too convincing. Now, after that happens, everyone would turn their attention back over to this guy. He's trying to force his quirk gear onto his head, and get it working. Now, with that being said, Mina would have thrown her hands out, and trying to at least focus. Jiro going to blast her sound waves at him. She needs to make sure that she gets this right. And if she can do it, then she can at least get rid of his vision, or his eyesight. Now, Todoroki is running in, along with Kirishima. These two blasting forwards as the guy would have gotten this thing turned on, enhancing his quirk massively, and actually going on more and more. Now, after getting this boost to his quirk, the entire building begins to shake, along with the island, as David can feel this shift. Melissa, she's actually gotten there to find that the butler is injured, heading up to the top floors. Sayako and David are still working, and Deku's beginning to react to something. Clearly he can hear or even sense his tech. Now, what's been going on with Midoriya in this amount of time? Deku, for him, things are a bit odd. He still does have fear in his system, yes, but he also does have adrenaline, and his spider sense, along with regeneration. And, well, more and more of his quirks are reacting to each other, along with Overclock. Overclock is sending Deku down a weird spiral, along with fear and his own regeneration. His spider sense is going haywire as his fight or flight senses are being overridden by illusions and, well, chaos, basically. Imagine it's like a giant storm, and you're not sure where you are. The only thing you know is that standing still isn't a good option, because it feels like you're about to be blasted away or even yanked out of the ground, and sent flying hundreds of miles in a different direction. Not able to control anything happening. That is what's happening in Midoriya. Now, along with that, the machine is getting more and more ready. They just need to fire it up. David actually saying that they need to hurry. It does not sound good up there. As back up there, this is what's going on. The dude, Wolfram, is using his magnetic powers. And he's actually trying to throw around as much force as he can, along with pull as much metal towards him. As you do have one thing. Mina is blasting as much acid into it as possible, and Kirishima is at least trying to hold it off, along with Todoroki. Todoroki is sending large blasts of ice directly at this machine, and throwing as much fire as he can. And, well, he's a bit confused. If they were going to send someone out here, why didn't they also bring Shigaraki? Or Mr. Compress, he would be really useful right now. Even that fucking spinner guy. Now, along with that, they have been having a bit more of a problem. As Mina would run up, and Momo would create something. She would create an RPG, and immediately blast at the villain. As it would explode. A lot of people have been hearing the carnage, and have been trying to at least evacuate. However, there is a bit of a problem. Someone here is at least watching what's going on. They want to test out some new gear. Now, this is going to be quite weird or odd. She's not really sure, but, well, let's at least try it. As Mei Hatsume would come blasting in. She wants to test the mobility of this thing, and a proper course would be life or death situation. Her, if she needs to, can try and make quick adjustments on the fly. And they would have been a bit confused to see someone from UA here, thinking that there's more on the way. As Momo would have thrown her hands out, and create something. Her being able to grab Mei Hatsume and pull her straight at her, with a bit of a grappling hook, after latching onto one of her support items, asking exactly what the fuck is she doing here, and where is the rest of UA then? Her kinda confused, saying that she came here to see David's shields, and in fact, she wanted to get some advice on some of her babies. Mei, or Momo, a bit confused. Mei going on saying that she also does want to at least test these out now. Besides, I'm pretty sure I'm the only one on this island. Now, along with that, the guy is beginning to blast around, and Mei would have got sent flying. Someone actually throwing their hands out to catch her. This being, well, Reiko. trying to use Poltergeist to at least hold her, and pull her straight towards her. It actually working. Now, after she does that, May would have been told to get off the roof, or to at least get the fuck out of here, she doesn't want to die. They might be villains, but even then, this guy is too strong. Besides, you might get in the way of our conscience. May a bit confused. These guys are villains now? Not really paying attention to anything around her. As one thing would happen. You have Melissa's shield come running onto the rooftop, and watching as what's going on with her father's technology. Kirishima is still trying to at least get up the guy's arm and fight, using his claws in unbreakable mode, being smashed around into different buildings. With Todoroki, he's been able to at least immobilize most of this guy's metal, but he just keeps pulling more from around the buildings. Now, with that being said, Sayako would have come running, and see exactly what is going on. As she would have come out onto the roof, and take a deep breath, telling Melissa that they are ready, they just need to get a manual release, or even just find the straight up power source. If they find it and reset it, then that will at least give David enough power to activate it. They need to find a way to turn off everything in the park. Otherwise, it's going to blow in a matter of seconds. And, well, Melissa's just thinking. That would be easy to do, but they need to take care of that thing. So exactly, what is your plan? Sayako actually just thinking for a second. And trying to map it out in her head. Counting her steps. 3 to the left, 7 to the right, or 3 to the left, 7 backwards, and 2 to the right. The direct center of the device they put Midoriya in. The massive power output is going to send a burst straight up into the air and destroy the building. So, her just looking at Melissa, saying that they need to make sure to get everyone away. Her basically grabbing her friends, getting Toga, Reiko, Monoma, and Ayama to go get everyone away, or at least go get the ones that are trapped down there. Meanwhile, Momo, she's still blasting into this thing, along with Jiro and Kendo. They are trying to make sure that this will be okay, as Sayako would have thrown up her hands and stopped some of the metal in the air. The dude turning and seeing this, thinking that she can manipulate it too, beginning to head her direction, as she would begin to fight with the man, looking at his face and making sure that whenever she goes to move in a different direction, she moves in the opposite one, trying to stay out of his control or out of his way, as they would be getting more and more people out of the building. One thing actually happening. Melissa, she would have been able to find a way to turn everything off and get enough power for the machine, as she would go running back to the rooftop, thinking, she does at least need to make sure that she can help them. If this building is going to come down, then people need to get out too. Until one thing would happen. She would run onto the rooftop and tell Sayako to get out of here. And, well, Sayako would have told David to flip the machine on. One thing happening. As soon as it gets turned on, Sayako would have been smashed across the face. Her and Melissa getting sent flying, along with the rest of the girls from Class 1A. Except for Asui and the other person who was tied up. They got out of the building. Meanwhile, back over with Midoriya. He is currently on the ground, and the machine has just been turned on. Deku being able to pull himself in different directions before his body begins to release this power. The heat. The fight with Endeavor stored way too much. And well, each cell in his body is beginning to release that power. Deku lighting on fire and turning red hot, as he just throws his hands upwards into the air and begins to release the power, as it's being conducted and blasted upwards. The building is being torn through and eaten away as Deku would have been able to blast a hole straight through the sky and actually destroy the man's metal creations, as he would have been sent flying himself, trying to at least manipulate metal to cushion his fall, or at least get him to float up into the air, something to slow himself down. As Deku would do one thing. As soon as he's able to piece his mind back together, he would immediately use clockwork and take a deep breath as he would reform, actually looking around, seeing a man and then looking up into the air as he begins to jet upwards. He needs to find his friends. Clearly he's in some sort of prison or, well, something. They finally fixed him though, as he looks to see things happening in slow motion. He sees Sayako, hurt and actually hit away. She's about to go smashing into a building. Deku using Airjet to come in, grabbing her and actually beginning to duplicate off, turning into multiple Dekus, picking up his friends. More Dekus actually heading to the ground and actually moving his friends away from the explosion. And the blast. As 1 second Sayako was hit across the face, and everyone was being sent hurtling into the ground. The next, all the girls are in Deku's arms, and Deku's friends are moved and watching the building collapse in the distance. Now, after that happened, this is whenever Melissa's shield would be a bit confused, looking around for a second, thinking that she was dead for a minute, before looking down and realizing that she's floating in the air, before turning to see Midoriya, a bit surprised at his face. Midoriya is saying that she'll be alright, but exactly what is going on here? I'm a bit confused. How long have I been gone? Melissa's eyes widening, as she cannot believe it. This is that guy from the broadcast, the one who fought Endeavor. But her train of thought would have been stopped, as she would watch more Deku's land. And actually, she would begin running over to the rubble, trying to pick through it and find her dad. It completely collapsed onto the building. And, well, David's shield is stuck under there. Everyone's somewhat watching her do this. Deku asks exactly who is David's shield. Did he... Everyone's somewhat nodding. The version of Deku that has Sayako in his arms would just say that they did it. David's shield helped us fix you. In fact, we believe that you were already fixing yourself, but you've been, well, gone for 2-3 days, max. It's a bit of a weird time frame. Although you'll be fine, as she is at least trying to heal herself. Trying to at least focus on not moving, and making sure she'll be okay. The blast was, well, quite a big one, and the punch she received was very, very big an injury. Her actually having a cracked skull, and Deku basically holding onto her, passing her his hyper regeneration, as she would have begun to heal immediately. Deku actually reading on her quirks. Why does she have so many? After that happens, this is whenever Deku would walk over, asking Melissa if she's gonna need a hand. Her trying to bury through the rubble, but she's not even able to get the big pieces. Deku picking them up and tossing them over, as he begins to toss the rubble aside, and they are looking for David's shields. Sayako actually using her telekinesis to begin to pick things up, along with Ochako, after the Deku holding her breaks this corked thing off of her, and she would have been able to move freely. Everyone actually began to try and unbury the site, as they would have eventually done so. David is heavily injured, and he actually does have a pull or two through his gut and through his arms, along with his legs are crushed. Melissa actually in tears and crying, trying to at least figure this out. Her dad trying to say that she'll be okay, and that he was able to protect her in the last seconds. Actually asking Midoriya if he did anything, because he's fairly certain she went to the roof. Thank you. You're a villain, but you still save lives. I'm not sure what to call you. You've murdered my best friend, but you've saved my daughter. So, Deku just stopping Mr. Shields, saying that that's fine and all, but I can help you. David being confused. Deku walking back over to Sayako and asking if she's perfectly okay now. Her saying that she's perfectly fine, and Deku holding his hand out, saying that he's going to give that cork to David then. He needs it a lot more right now. Her understanding. Taking the cork from Sayako, Deku would turn around and hand it directly to David, as Deku would have been pulling all the stuff off of him, along with uncrushing his legs. Now, after all that happens, Melissa would still be a bit in shock and disbelief. He just saved her father. But the moment would have been interrupted, whenever Mei Hatsume would have ran up to David's shield after he stood back up, whenever he could. Her basically ranting off about different machinery and different things, thinking that these are at least very interesting and cool, and she wants to talk to him about them. As well, that's not going to happen for quite a bit of time. He needs to take a breather and at least take a rest. Well, one thing does happen. Deku would reform into one person, all the girls running over and actually tackling him to the ground, as Deku would have been at least laughing a bit, saying that he's going to be okay, and things are fine now. Meanwhile, there is something happening. Over with the Quark technology, and Wolfram, he is on the ground, and he's trying to crawl away with it, thinking that he at least got it, and whoever he's supposed to deliver this to, they're going to be really happy that he got it in time. Meanwhile, All For One, he is watching this happen. He wants to go talk with his son, but right now he's fairly certain that he's about to gain another follower. And if he interrupts it now, then clearly it is going to be bad. Now then, with that being said, this is where Wolfram would have been stopped by Reiko. Reiko actually looking down at him, her hand sparkling with fire, and the man being a bit shocked, saying that she needs to leave him alone. In fact, I still have enough power to kill you. That's funny. I was going to say this is no time for you to bargain, villain. I'm sorry about that. What did you say to me? You kid. Oh, I'm no kid. In fact, as you had bent down, taking the piece out of his hand, saying that she works with All For One. I'm guessing you know about him. The guy being a bit confused. Was this the person who was supposed to take the technology? He wouldn't have even suspected her. Of course, that makes more sense now. Him actually just asking one thing. What's so important about your team? Well, this is only a part of the reason why we came to the island. The other reason was so he can fix my boyfriend. The guy confused. Her turning to say that the son of All for One. He is, well, from what she saw, better. As a version of Deku would come walking up. Well, this is quite funny. Under different circumstances, I would have said that I would fight you. And if you lost, I would kill you. But you messed with my friends. Deku bending down, saying that there needs to be a punishment for that. So I'll give you one. Deku reaching his hand out, bringing it to the man's head as he forcibly pulls out his metal cork. As he would just say that that should be done now. Bringing his finger up, and using Black Hole to get rid of him. Since if there's any evidence he was ever alive or here, then this will be labeled a villain attack. Then again, it's probably going to be labeled one anyways. So the best they can do is at least get rid of a loose end. Deku's standing up and looking at Reiko, asking her if he should have let her do that. She still does need to kill. Her just looking at Midoriya, and saying that she's fine. She'll fight. She'll kill one day. But even then, don't count your chickens before they hatch. Now, with that being said, they would have made their way back over to Midoriya. And, well, the real Deku would have looked in this direction. And they do have another problem. Deku just saying that heroes are on their way. As he would do one thing. He would open a portal for Kirigiri, or tell Kirigiri to open a portal after someone calls him. Kirigiri doing so. Everyone stepping through. Deku hugging Tomura as All for One is standing there too. Deku looking directly at David Shields and his daughter. Deku just asking one simple question. You call me a villain, but you also called me a hero. You want to research quirks and technology, albeit not legally. Deku just holding out his hand, as Melissa and David would stare directly at him, along with May. She knows that this is not going to be, well, good or easy, so, well, let's see what happens. Deku just saying that if David comes with him, he can avoid jail time, and research whatever he wants to. They have a doctor who works on the Nomu, the mindless creations. You can probably learn something from him and get better information than that. Being able to improve your technology. What do you say, Mr. Shield? Do you want to work for the good guys? Or for the betterment of humanity? David just standing up and weighing his options, looking at his daughter. If he leaves the island, that means that it can at least be said that a villain attacked and killed him. And he can stay with his daughter. If he tries to face what he's done, then he gets jail time. And that's not good either. She'll be left alone, and, well, investors will immediately just pull out of the island. The place will be abandoned, and things will never return to normal. So, David taking a step forwards. Melissa looking directly at him. David holding out his hand, saying that they need to help people, Melissa. Besides, we can always leave if we don't want to be here. I can turn myself in any time. It's just, I want to help people. And I can't do it with all these stupid laws in order. As Melissa would walk forwards, Deku actually grabbing her hand and introducing himself properly. As Mei Hatsume would walk in too. Deku confused as to who this girl is, before realizing that that's the chick who worked on that costume whenever he went to go see about it. Now, Deku would have asked for her name, getting it and introducing himself too, as things would be a bit odd. All for one talking with Midoriya, and David actually seeing him in person. All for one shaking Deku's hand, and handing him back over his mom's telekinesis, telling him that he also does have another quirk, but this one's going to put you more on par with the successor. Now, with that being said, All for One would give Deku this enhancement ability, and Deku would have been a bit surprised whenever he does actually try and use it for the first time. As soon as he turns it on, he would have noticed that some of his other quirks are turning on too. His body turns metallic, which kind of catches him off guard for a second. Things begin to levitate around the room, and illusions start popping up, along with pheromone activating. That's always fun. Deku looking around and at least thinking that this is good, as he looks at his friends. Kirishima and Todoroki, they're at least giving him a thumbs up. Ayama, he just staring Midoriya down, before finally at least giving him a smirk, saying that it looks fine. If you're going to attack that hero, then, well, let's make sure to make it at least exquisite. Deku finally turning to the girls, and getting dogpiled, once again. Realizing his mistake, Melissa actually watching this happen, along with May. These two confused as to what the hell has just happened. And, well, Melissa at least thinking, this guy is a bit odd and, well, weird. But at the same time, she's beginning to feel a bit of the effects of pheromone, as it does at least affect her a little bit. Her at least thinking that the guy is at least a bit huge, or, well, at least confident. Before she does actually shake her head off, and try and think more about this. Now, after shaking this off, and well, still being affected by it, Alphonse would have walked over, and say that they have been quite helpful to him. So, I will give you any quirk you desire. Which would you like? Melissa being confused. David looking directly at the situation and saying that she'll just take... Well, she won't take a quirk, all for one. Or Mr. Shigaraki. Now, I do believe that you should at least have one. Then again, what about, as he looked toward Mei Hatsume, saying her. She seems to be, well, tagged along. Do they know exactly why she's here? Everyone's somewhat just saying no. The only reason she came along was because David did. And, well, his technology is admirable. She strives to be just like the man, so she does at least still want to ask him questions. Now then. Eventually, heroes would have arrived at the island, and seen exactly the disaster that happened here. As people would have at least described the situation. The villain tried to take down heroes, which would have confused the heroes. No one on the island was there except for security, and even then, security said they were dealing with a bit of more incidents. Meaning that there was somebody here to deal with that. Possibly two different villain organizations. Now I'm at least thinking. That means that one of them has the quirk tech. Shit. Now, with that being said, Mirio is, Will is thinking more about this. But things are going to be getting more and more complicated. He needs to talk with Sun Eater, or Tamaki and Nejire. Whenever they do, they need to think about this more. They are going to be attacking soon. He knows it. Whenever the villains do, they need to be ready. And make sure to take them down. Now then, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed the video and have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next part.